I'm getting my first look at where things are at here. I had heard things were up a little bit, but let's review. Oh, look at Tesla at the top of the list there on the bottom left. What craziness in that stock. Okay. So this is where we were last week. We had that move down, more news. And just looking at some of the news this morning, it's like relief. It's like a replay of China, right? One day the markets are gapping down, right? On trade war news. Last week, markets gapping down on sanctions against Turkey. Then buyers step up. Like, who cares about Turkey? Drop, bottoming tail bar, back up again. So they threw a wrench in the view of making new all-time highs, my view that I had from here. And I was like, oh, I guess maybe that's not going to happen. Yes, it is. And here, we're up a bit and hesitancy right up at that area up above. So it looks like things are on track. Most of earnings are behind us. There is some this week as well. You should check to see what it is. Anything we recommend, of course, we're going to let you know if earnings are coming. Well, of course, then we're not going to recommend it, but we always check. So to me, it looks like prices are on their way to making new all-time highs. They're stalled at the prior high, which, could it become an M-top and turn down? I suppose so. But the wrong way option traders stepped up last week, loading up on puts. The moving average is just touching a bullish envelope. Sometimes we do look at that as an absolute number, but the envelopes that I've created that have worked for many, many, many years and that adjust for bull markets. And you don't hear me? Does anybody else hear me? Okay, thank you, Russell. Unmute your computer, Dan. He always presses that button. Anyway, thank you, Jerry. All right, so we're stalled at these highs here. You can see 285. We're up at 286, which is right there. So what we need to see this morning, I don't know whether that little dip is real. Hard to say. When we look at the futures, we'll know. But it looks like just a consolidation up there, which should result in a push above the highs. Qs are in question. Their pullback is a little deeper, and you see the stall up here. Could you finish what you were saying about the envelopes? I have to open that up on another page, Brian. I'll show you that later, and I'll give you the parameters for it if you want to set it up. But what I was saying was that many years ago when I started following sentiment, put call ratios, logically it happens that in bull markets, the extremes are not as far as what they are in bear markets. So through just tweaking these envelopes and back testing and such, I came up with a way of these envelopes to adjust for bull and bear markets as to the levels of what is at a bullish or bearish extreme. And by doing that, the absolute numbers of getting to 0.80 or 1.2 on a closing basis with the moving average that I use, many times it didn't quite get there. So I'll show it to you, in the middle of the day, something like that when things are quiet. You could look at the parameters and set it up for yourself. Okay, so Qs here are stalled near some resistance. So far, they're acting well in light of the fact that we have the internet stocks in question, which I'm very interested to see where they are here this morning. You can see the sell set up here and this head and shoulders top that has been forming. It would have to break below this level. And so this morning they're kind of flattish, but this is going to be really interesting to see, if the NASDAQ does push up And it can do that without these stocks, of course, but they'll do it a lot faster and stronger if these stocks were on board. But if this should get through this area up here, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in those stocks like the Adobe. We've got that bear call spread on PayPal, and I think it'll be fine. But if this was to turn around, and let's just put this up here, and so you have a reference. If you were to see this FDN start pushing up above, say, 140.50, it's probably going to be bullish for those stocks short term where they're going to recover a bit. And any bearish play based on this pattern here could be in question. So that's something to use as a guide, just to be aware, either from the bullish side to take advantage of that, where we might put on some bullish put spreads just based on this now being a higher low. Because if this head and shoulders fails, historically, it works out pretty big to the upside. We'll see what happens. At this point in time, the head and shoulders is well intact and the sell set up here. So we'll see if it breaks to Friday's low or what it's going to do. Okay. Russell chopping around, looks okay for a choppy mess. Friday it did well. We got a red bar ignored. We got a red bar ignored. The moving averages are coming together. So we read that as it coming to a potential inflection point, whereas it's gone sideways long enough. So when we use moving averages, we refer to them as a visual aid. So, and one of the ways they're a visual aid is to say, well, hey, they're far apart. Things are extended to some extent. Now, when they get tighter, we read that as, hey, current prices are starting to consolidate. And as they start to pinch together, we say, hey, they've been consolidating for a longer period of time and reaching that inflection point. Well, they're either going to roll over or they're going to break out to the upside. So the trend is up, on the daily time. Well, the daily's flat here, but the weekly is trending up. We know that because the 50 MA is trending up. The market is overall bullish. So, the bias is that this should break out to the upside, but we'll see. So far, it's been chopping around. The star, not so much of a star, kind of like a dim star, has been the transports, where they've had this self-correcting, grinding uptrend. But, hey, they broke out above their prior highs last week. And that is great for the bull, case, that this can go higher. And, they're not near all-time highs, but they're not that far off. And they negated a topping tail bar last week. And that's a positive sign. They're down a little bit this morning. Looks like, where are they at? 201. So they're down a little bit. And why is that? Yeah, I would assume oil is up, and oil has been looking like it's going to turn around. Let's take a look at that for a minute. Yeah, so it hit the 200 MA here in the area of the prior low. It's kind of bouncing up a little bit, flattish. So transports might see a little pressure if this continues to bounce. I'm going to keep an eye on. Some of the airlines have been looking like they're coming back around after some correction. So not so out of the woods, but we'll see. Gold, a little reprieve for the gold bugs getting destroyed. And bonds, well, up a bit here, which means interest rates are going down, which means financials could be under a little pressure, but they're not. They're actually up slightly. So not every time do these correlations always lock together step by step instantaneously. So I like what financials are doing as far as, this gap down, which happened on the news, coming back. And on the weekly time frame, I think this could break out, right? You got a topping tail followed by a bottoming tail bar. This is the concept of acting well at an area of resistance, which means it goes sideways versus drops. Yep, KRE looks okay. This, I think, looks better, to tell you the truth, as having potential to go higher. But KRE looks okay. I wasn't so into KRE when you first brought it up last week sometime, because XLF wasn't looking so good at the time, like it was going to keep going down. Back at that time, we had the topping tail, and it looked like it was just going to drop again, and it did from the top of the range. But now it's coming back, so maybe these banks can outperform. Well, we're going to see. Let me see the euro. Not a big deal. Just kind of hanging there. S&Ps up a little bit. Same thing we saw with the spiders. They're up at the prior high. So the question is, can they get through it today or tomorrow? Do they go sideways? Do we get a topping tail? So pullbacks like this are buyable because it's in an uptrend. It did pull back a little deep, but entering at this point, other than day trades, makes no sense because you're right at a prior high. Now, how could we enter this? What would I look for? Today, maybe dipping down and becoming a bottoming tail bar that showed that buyer stepped up again, or tomorrow to get that kind of a bar where you get an attempt to move lower and it comes right back. And that's a continuation type pattern. Whereas right now, when it's pre-market, beginning of the week, we just got a little narrow range bar. I guess you have to refresh, Alejandro. I don't got nothing in front of it. No one else has said they can't see it. I don't know why that happens sometimes. And Qs, just a stall, nothing to go on here. Quiet market here. Pre-market, really nothing happening. And the Dow is knocking on the door to get through 25,800. It's up a little bit. It's been outperforming. So, everything points to a market that should continue to go higher here. The news today, which could change in the next 2 minutes or next day, about, tensions easing, which is what it was saying there this morning, some of the stuff I read. Futures climb on U.S.-China trade talk optimism. It's always going on.
Hey, Greg, with Venezuela in further turmoil and, they're devaluing their currency 95%, inflation's 1,000%. Do you see any opportunity in that devastation anywhere? I don't know, other than the currency, what stocks to trade. They got that private oil company, but
I don't know.
Yeah,
probably. This isn't the first time Venezuela's been through that. So
yeah,
do a little research to see what was the play at the time. Maybe they have bonds that they're selling for 1,000% interest or something. I don't know.
All right.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's no country ETF because I don't have any public companies.
I don't know. I'd have to look. I don't think I'd want to buy Venezuela's.
No, without a doubt.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah. So, all right. Whatever's moving here. I think I own some Twitter, and I've been holding on to it, thinking it's going to pop up here. Not that the sector is doing anything special, but it's been basing here at the 200. So things are a little kind of new. Well, not kind of. They're just neutral here this morning. If you look at just this list of what's green or what's yellow with some red in here, there's a little more green, so a little more bullish than bearish just on what's going on there. Yeah, maybe. Tesla just getting a little bit of a beating here this morning. So, all right, Dan, take it over.
All right. Good morning, everyone.